Hi, I'm Will from Link, and in this video I'll be taking you through the WIP Performance report in Link Reporting. Let's take a look together. This is the WIP Performance report. Now the WIP Performance report looks at all of your work in progress movements over multiple periods. Now by default the report runs for last month and it compares to the 11 previous periods. So we're looking at a full 12-month summary here. Now you can add filters here because you may want to filter this report by client or client group or by category or by partner. So you can view this information filtered down, but by default just runs with no filters here. So let's check it out. So here is 12 months of work in progress movement. So there is every timesheet, every disbursement, and every invoice is in this report. So there's literally nothing that happens that isn't showing in this report. So in this report, we have our opening work in progress, which is the unbilled time and disbursements, less any interim invoices that exist at the start of the report period. So here in December 2021, we've got 435K. We then have the total value of time entered within the period, and then the value of disbursements added within the period. We then have how much we've invoiced, and the invoice shows it a negative number, and the reason for that is time and disbursements are positive work in progress. These are things we can bill, and invoices reduce that value of what we have to bill. So we represent our invoiced as a negative value. We then have a breakdown of our write-ups and our write-offs, giving us our total write-ups for the period, which gives us our closing work in progress. So this is a formula. If we take our opening WIP and we add our time and we add our disbursements, we subtract what we invoiced, and then we add our total net write-ups, being a negative here, we arrive at our closing WIP, and then that becomes our opening WIP for the next period. So that is the WIP formula. Now we have two other metrics here. We have our WIP multiple and our write-up percentage. Now WIP multiple lets us know how much WIP we are carrying compared to the amount of work we're doing. So here in December 2021, we have 1.3 as our WIP multiple. That lets us know we've got 1.3 months worth of WIP sitting in our closing balance. And we get that by taking our closing WIP and dividing it by the time and disbursements entered within that month. So we ideally want to keep our WIP multiple as low as possible, because we're better to have $303,000 sitting in the bank account than sitting here as a closing WIP balance in this report. We then have our write-up percentage. Now, write-up percentage is looking at the total value of our net write-ups divided by the time and disbursements entered in the period. So we've got quite a high write-off percentage here in December, as you can see, compared to the rest of the months. Now, if we go along to the far right-hand side of this report, we can see our total values for the year. So our opening WIP is the WIP balance at the start of this report, being back in December 2021. So we've got our total value of time that we've entered in the entire year. So we've done just over $3 million of time. We've added $233,000 of disbursements, and we've invoiced just over $3 million. So you can see our net write-off being $278,000 and our closing WIP balance as at the end of this report. Now we don't provide a WIP multiple at a total level. The reason for that is that if we take our closing WIP balance and divide by our time and disbursements added, we're not going to get a correct value there. So we do need to look at our WIP multiple on a monthly basis. And finally, our write-up percentage. This is very interesting to look at an annual basis. What we can see here is we're writing off 8.46% of our time and disbursements. So this is a great report to get a full overview of the practice, because there's every single timesheet, disbursement, and invoice that exists here in this report. Now this report can be exported by hitting export, choosing your format, and then hitting download. Or we can schedule this report by hitting schedule, giving the report a name, entering the email addresses of the people that you want to send the report to, select the start date for when you want to start receiving this report, frequency, and then the format. Now, it's a good idea to be looking at your WIP performance report on a monthly basis. You may want to consider adding filters. If you do have multiple partners, you might want to see a report filtered by partner, or you may have a high value client group that you want to keep a close eye on to make sure your work in progress doesn't get out of control. Apply a filter and then schedule this report to the job managers. Another great way to run this report is to look at the current financial year. This gives us a great view of how we're tracking throughout the financial year. This is an alternative way to schedule the report to your senior management team, as you can see the story develop as you progress throughout the year. So I hope that answers all of your questions. Now, if there's anything further you would like help with, in the menu hit help and then chat with support to speak to someone from our support team.